Okay, welcome to the program, September the 26th. You're with the Editor-in-Chief live with Lester's Oil. Great to have your company. Your multi-ingredient Omega-3. Omega-3 healthy aging supplement backed by thousands and thousands of satisfied customers. 6 supplements in 1 capsule, supports joint, heart and brain health. Take as directed, read the label. Of course, it's from About Health, Auckland. Evening, everybody. I'm Duncan, Garner. Welcome to the program tonight. Initially, I thought someone was having me on. Students against alcohol on campus in Otago. I thought, what? Next up, they'll all be vegans. But it's true, they're demanding the liquor barons stop targeting students with their flashy and latest booze offering. That's what they're doing. Never in our day, we would have said, but the Students for Sensible Drug Policy, Otipoti, have objected to the renewal of the on licence at the Speight's Heritage Centre in Dunedin, this old Speight's factory. Speight's, owned by Lion Liquor, is being questioned whether it's fit to hold an on liquor licence by the students. The students claim that the brewery has engaged in predatory tactics and targeted the students, a marketing campaign aimed at Dunedin student community. Now, I've been to this place. It's part of the old historic Speight's Brewery, opened in 1876, albeit I went there and to the tasting room in school uniform in 1989. I kid you not. Now, the police, medical officer of health and licensing inspector have not opposed the licence. They have not opposed the licence renewal, which is set to be discussed tomorrow, which is Friday. Max Phillips is with the Students for Sensible Drug Policy. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So what are you up to? What are you guys doing?
So SSDP Otipoti is a Otago University affiliated club. We sort of have a kaupapa harm reduction focus around drugs and alcohol. So that's sort of anything from alcohol, cannabis, all the way through to methamphetamine. Anything within that realm, we kind of like to talk about and have a real keen sort of harm reduction focus around that. So that means harm reduction, pushing for, advocating for, and in this case, objecting to alcohol licenses in order to have more health-focused approaches to drugs in society.
What's the Speight's on licence? What have they done wrong in your eyes?
So this particular one is the Speight's Heritage Building in Dunedin. Speight's Heritage is owned by Lion Liquor. Lion Liquor is the largest alcohol distributor in the country. They're owned by a big conglomerate over in Japan called Kirin. And that international conglomerate likes to sell alcohol. They like to make money off alcohol, and they're doing so in New Zealand. And this particular objection was effectively focused around the advertising and promotion of one of their new products called Kirin Haikitsu. You might have heard of it. It's a sort of lemon blue RTD drink that they launched late last year.
Yes.
So in O Week and Flow Week at the start of this year, Kirin put up a big sort of push and promotion campaign in Dunedin. And it was sort of centered around the painting of one of the old Dunedin flats called the Dairy. So they basically turned it into a big billboard to promote their new product. And we recognize that alcohol is harmful, and we also recognize that the promotion and the advertising or the commercialization of a high percentage 6% RTD is not something that's actually going to help us address all of the harm, especially in North Dunedin, especially with the student contingent in a population of very vulnerable people. And so that kind of promotion was what we would consider irresponsible, unnecessary, and overall just really harmful, contributing to the massive issue we've got down here.
Did the painting of the building, so they painted it in the colours of the drink, did that therefore go on to mean that everyone drunk in excess? Did they drink that particular drink in excess? Do we know from the time?
So we have good evidence to prove that the types of drinking and the sort of behaviors people develop in orientation week actually go on to sort of predict what their drinking is like throughout the rest of the academic year. And we can see from a couple of reports from the manager down at the on license, one of the on licenses here, one of the licensed off licenses called Leaf Liquor,
Mm.
that about 1 in 3 people during that time were coming in, particularly for Haikitsu. So we know it was successful. We know they sold a lot of it. There was a pretty strong sort of response from the students after the dairy got painted, that they liked the drink, and that they consumed a lot of it. So
It's a billboard, though, isn't it? It's no different to a billboard, really, isn't it? It's just a big billboard.
very similar. The particular issue was the timing and placement. It was targeted. There's absolutely no way Lion Liquor didn't know that they were targeting students in a student residential area. North Dunedin is like
Yep. Yep.
99% student population.
Is it against the law to target like that? Because I've seen billboards in and around different universities come my week. There's all sorts of, TUI or whoever it might be, they have an advertisement, whether it be on a billboard, poster, whatever. It's pretty common, isn't it?
Illegal is a hard term to define in this context. So it's certainly illegal under Section 237 of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act that irresponsible promotion is against the law. Um, but when you're defining what irresponsible promotion is, it is a matter of interpretation, and that can depend on a number of factors.
So
In this context,
that interpretation, therefore, you're asking for the interpretation. You're saying that the painting of the building was in your face, and it was obviously promoting the alcohol. You're saying that obviously it had an impact, and you're saying that breaches the law. They'll argue, of course, against it. How strong is your case, do you think?
well, one of the key features around what they did was they actually launched a hand promotion as well. So you might have heard of it as the become the hand to the face behind the can, or something like that. They launched that during the same time that they painted the billboard, and they actually had a $10,000 reward to be the winner of that hand promotion. So that was painted on the building as well, as go on the draw to win $10,000, be part of our hand promotion. That's incentive. It's an abuse of power. It's an abuse of like any kind of responsible promotion here. They've gone and targeted a vulnerable population who are known for not having any money. Students are known for being poor and broke, and used a massive reward to incentivize people, and create this kind of um, brand awareness
But those
around
students have
the
been
new RTD.
Yeah, but these students have been drinking, and money hasn't appeared to be a shortage in the decades gone by on O Week and all through the year. There seems to be no shortage of alcohol, no shortage of money for the alcohol, and it's been going on for decades, hasn't it?
Absolutely. It's a massive problem, and we know that it's a massive problem, and that's why it's so important for us to kind of object to these licenses, and to call out the massive alcohol company and alcohol distributors in the country for their part to play, because we know that it's not a matter of personal responsibility. It's a whole approach to the drug itself, and that means ensuring that not only are people taken into account for when they do stupid things on alcohol, but the massive companies are also held to account when they promote their alcohol excessively and in the faces of a vulnerable population.
So, would you like to see the whole? Would you like to see the whole thing banned? And would you like to see O Week banned? Would you like to see drinking in O Week banned?
No, drinking in O Week is never going to be banned. Prohibition doesn't work. And we know this. And I'm not saying SSDP doesn't want to ban alcohol, but we do want to see a harm reduction approach taken to alcohol. And that means incentivizing and focusing on health-related outcomes.
What's been the
Advertising
reaction?
and promotion does not support health-related outcomes.
No. So
Alcohol
would you
is
like
a
all that?
carcinogen.
Would you like all advertising banned of alcohol?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What about pricing? They can't do minimum pricing anymore. The pricing can't change. They can't go cheap on that. So that's a good thing, right?
Minimum pricing units is a potential policy. It appears to be somewhat effective in terms of the peer-reviewed research we have on it.
Mm.
It does reduce alcohol intake, and particularly reduces alcohol intake in the most extreme harm populations.
Just on your
But
point,
it's also one of the policy levels that aren't as effective as something like removing promotion and advertising.
yeah.
And
Just on,
particularly, it's something that we can do here is to remove the promotion and advertising during a vulnerable week or weeks, a vulnerable time period that doesn't have a major impact overall on an alcohol company except for those 2 weeks.
why don't
And
you just? I
so
mean, if this is if you're so principled, why don't you just can drinking can no week can drinking, can drinking in
because
no
it's not
week.
going to work. Prohibition doesn't work. We know this from 50 years of evidence prove that prohibition and banning something outright simply doesn't
But
work.
what about limiting
So
it to?
what we
But
need to
these
do
students,
is
I mean,
making it.
these students aren't going to take heed. I mean, there's a culture of this stuff down there, isn't there? What are they saying to you? Well, what's been the conversation like with some of the drinkers down there? So I mean, there's streets and streets of these guys.
And that's why we need to focus on things that we can do to reduce that incentivization for students. Because we know
They're going to get
that
the alcohol, mate.
promotion and advertising increases alcohol intake overall. We've
But
got
they don't need advertising. They don't need
research
advertising to
to
go and get
show
it, do they? But
that
hang on a second. They don't need an advertisement to go and buy the alcohol. They know what they want. They know where it is.
but promotion increases the amount they're intaking. Promotion increases the amount that people are going to consume in excess, and that's going to increase the harm. And that does a lot more to harm than just drinking during O week. It's the excess amount that they're consuming. It's the times where people get so drunk that they wind up in hospital because of overdose. It's all the sexual assaults that happen because over 1/4 of Otago University students get sexually assaulted while they are at university.
Mm.
And we know that alcohol is correlated.
Yeah.
We know that alcohol is involved in over 2/3 of those. So we have to take the steps in order to reduce the amount and the excessiveness that it happens.
How much should they be
Students aren't
drinking a
going to
night
stop
then?
drinking.
How much should they be drinking then, Max? What would you recommend on a night? What would you say? Seriously, what sort of dosage should they be having? How many cans of beer or whatever it should it be?
That's entirely up to the individual. We know that alcohol affects people differently. We know that people have different tolerances, different body weights. We can't give a plain black and white drink this much or don't. But what we can do is encourage them to drink less. What we can do is prevent major alcohol companies from promoting their high percentage RTD during a vulnerable time within a known vulnerable population that's going to increase the amount of harm and the excessiveness of that harm.
The police and the medical doctors and the health authorities, none of them are joining you in this opposition. I wonder if that's an oversight from them, or why aren't they joining you if this is such a problem?
I will note that even though they haven't objected, the police have provided evidence to this objection.
Why don't they join you?
Particularly, that evidence was that Sergeant Jones, the alcohol harm prevention officer down here in Dunedin, saw the dairy being painted at the time and asked about it, and has provided the evidence.
So the police don't. So the police don't agree with
that.
That
doesn't
either.
matter. The DLC might take into account that the medical officer of health and the police and the agencies haven't objected, but they still have to make their decision based on the merits of the applicant overall.
Yes.
And that is our focus. We aren't trying to target the Speight's Heritage premise. We don't think that the Speight's Heritage premise is a particularly poorly run premise. It's the applicant itself, it's the licensee holder itself, Lion Liquor, that has been targeting a vulnerable population in North Dunedin to sell their product, and using that as a way to promote and sell an excess amount of alcohol that winds up hurting us.
What about personal responsibility in all
They
this?
have to deal with that.
What about personal responsibility in this? What you mentioned just before. It seems like this is entirely the company's fault. Everyone gets shit-faced during O Week. How much of it comes down to personal responsibility and people actually taking some responsibility for themselves?
Personal responsibility is a way for alcohol companies to deflect the blame. It is a way for a massive commercial operation that sells $600,000 worth of alcohol in our $600 million worth of alcohol in our country. That's the amount of revenue Lion Liquor makes on a yearly basis, give or take, only to cause $7 billion plus worth of harm.
Max, we'll leave it there. I appreciate it. Well said. Strong case for you. Do you, just quickly before you go, do you have a drink during O Week?
Oh, I enjoy alcohol on a time-to-time basis. I indulge occasionally. I don't think that prohibition is any kind of responsible take on alcohol whatsoever.
Okay,
but moderation is key. I think that in order to have moderation, we first need to address all of the harms at all of the levels, and that means ensuring accountability across the board.
Appreciate your time, mate. All the best. Good luck tomorrow because you're in there. No, you're in there today, so good luck. Good luck, mate. Cheers.
Thanks.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, that's Max Phillips. I appreciate his time. 0800 863 293. You can call me right now. Let's have a discussion about this. He makes some good points. Doesn't he? I mean, alcohol's nothing great happens after midnight. Come on, let's be honest. If you haven't learned that yet, you will. Duncan, prohibition. Just going through some of the feedback here, and Isaac on the control room. We'll go through some of that TikTok stuff as well. I saw coming through there. But Frosty says prohibition didn't work in America in the 20s, although it was different times. I'd say that it doesn't work judging off the evidence. Man, DG, you're so negative. You don't actually listen to what he's saying. You're just rebutting your point. Okay. Education changing cultures takes lots of change, like he's talking about. I live in Wellington, says Magneta. But I was bombarded by Leith Liquor during O Week, and they are extremely direct with how hard they target students with alcohol ads at O Week. Not good. Yeah, well, it's lining up with what Max is saying. Maybe this is the new approach. Maybe this is the way it should be. Isaac on the controls. What are they saying on TikTok, mate?
Got some good stuff here on TikTok. Hang on, let's see. Shadow says, brother, that's been the trend for years. Don't blame the money makers. Who else have we got here? Also, Duncan complaining about being poor.
Students.
Another thing, yeah.
Are these privileged? Isn't it privileged students in Otago?
Yeah, potentially. I don't want to obviously speak for anybody, but I know that there are a lot of people in Otago that go down specifically for the drinking. A lot of the people that I went to high school with did the exact same thing.
How nice to be able to afford that, to go drinking for 3 years.
Yeah, I know. Someone, Shadow again says, like, they're old enough to make their own choice. Yeah.
Well, that's the personal responsibility line. So
yeah, exactly. Which is something that Max touched on about being personal. It's a personal choice.
Have you tried that drink that they're talking about?
Yes, I have.
What's it like? What is it?
It's called Hyoketsu. It's a Japanese RTD.
Yep.
And it is very good. I won't lie.
What about an old fellow like me? Would you recommend it to old pops?
Yeah, it's difficult because it's not like it's not a beer. It's an RTD. It's a lemon RTD.
I could deal with that.
And it is. I will say it is a bit of a dangerous drink because it's quite a high alcohol level, but you really can't taste it, and so you can really easily throw a couple of these back. So again, it's all about education. I'd say that Max's argument is definitely very valid, but I'd say that it's very surface level in my opinion, blaming it on the advertisers.
Yeah. Do you think they may be grandstanding here, picking on sort of the big target?
Yeah, potentially, and I think it's significantly more like it's about education, and it's about education around alcohol and what it can do to you.
We've been educating people for decades about this stuff.
Exactly, 100%.
And as you'll find out shortly, our consumption is significantly down.
And if you're falling for all the advertisement and that is turning you into an alcoholic, then you need to seriously look at yourself.
Yeah, and also, are those companies responsible for the chaos that goes on in Castle Street? Come on.
Not at all. Like, people go to Castle Street for one reason only, and that is not
smashed.
The company's fault.
Yeah. Let's be a little bit fair here. Okay, good stuff. You're the man, Isaac. You're the man.
Duncan Garner, live.
Yep, it's time for 3 questions.
3 questions from the Editor-in-Chief. 1.
And number 1, is it true that teacher-only days will only be able to be taken in term time? Answer, correct. David Seymour says no more teacher-only days in the school term. No more long weekends in school term for teachers. Forget it. I mean, you want teacher-only days? Then take them during your holidays. Take them in the 14 weeks of holidays that you have, says David Seymour. He doesn't like the unions, and they don't like him.
2.
Finding the parents of our most truant kids sounds good, but I can't see it working. These kids and their parents are likely to be pretty detached from society anyway. And the fines are already piling up on the kitchen table. They're hardly likely to pay a fine on behalf of their kids because they're not at school. Yeah? Well, they're not going to do it.
3.
Number 3, so Damon McKenzie goes to the bench, and now Bodie's the answer. Dalton Papali'i's in the missing persons file. He hasn't been seen for weeks. And Billy Proctor was last seen in San Diego playing for the All Blacks. David Havili's back. I'm trying to make sense of Razor's approach. Is it, answer this question, is it any better than Foster's so far, the record? Answer, about the same, maybe slightly better, but not by much, I don't think.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, good to have your company. 0800 863 293. If you want to talk about booze, let's talk about it. So how are we drinking and how much are we drinking? That's the question. How much are we drinking? It seems that not as much as we used to compared to, say, 1986. We're 30% down. It's an incredible number, 30% less booze. I spoke to Virginia Nichols, Alcohol and Beverages Council, much earlier today. Thank you so much for joining us. What is it? We're drinking less these days. How much less are we drinking compared to, say, back in the 80s, 90s?
Yeah, well, look, thanks very much for having me, Duncan. It's really good to be here. Look, we are drinking incredibly different to the way we used to drink. I mean, there's been a real cultural shift. When we have a look at the Stats New Zealand alcohol consumption per capita, it's declined 29% since 1986. That's a big amount. But it's not so much about consumption, it's about how we're drinking. And again, this is New Zealand Government Stats New Zealand Health Survey says that 84% of New Zealand adults, more than 4 out of 5 of us, are drinking beer, wine and spirits responsibly. This is an increase of 3 percentage points in the last year, which is brilliant. It means that hazardous drinking, and that's what we want to reduce, has declined to 16%, but it's still too high. And in the past year, that means that 110,000 fewer Kiwis are drinking in a harmful way, which is a good thing.
These are great stats. It's a real sort of evolution and revolution in many ways to our drinking, because if you go back at the 80s and 90s when I was a teenager, it was encouraged. There would be promotions. You could go out into town. There'd be pubs promoting dollar beers. It wasn't your school never looked the other way when you had a keg after a first 15 game. All these sorts of things. Now this stuff is just absolutely clamped down on. Schools don't do what we used to do. The pubs aren't allowed to because the laws changed. So in many ways, we're slowly getting there, aren't we?
We are slowly getting there, and it's more than we're making great progress, because these are significant changes, really. And when you compare us, for instance, to other countries around the world, other OECD countries, we're drinking less than the OECD average, includes less than the US, UK, Australia, Germany, and France, and Ireland. But you're right, we do drink differently. And when we see the young people now and the teenagers, they are also delaying their start of drinking, and that is so important. They're drinking differently. They're going and having a look at no and low alcohol products, and this is a really good thing. If our youth are starting to not drink until a lot later on, then that is a really good thing for going ahead in New Zealand.
Really, it really is. Public of New Zealand. Of course, they've found another addiction, haven't they? And that's social media and their devices. So they've got the other issues out here, which is not for you to be concerned about. But that is an issue in itself in many ways. But we were promoting drinking. Drinking was put in front of us 13, 14. I look at my 14-year-old now, and he's nowhere near it. So, and I don't drink at home, so I don't want him to see. I don't want him to. There's plenty of time for this. 14-year-old brains aren't ready for it.
They're not ready for it. And that's a really important thing is, please don't start drinking till you're 18 years old. And that's what's actually happening. The alcohol industry, beer, wine and spirits industry is involved in education in schools via the Life Education Trust. We go into schools and by a theatrical performance actually talk to students and let them know about what happens to their brains when they do drink. Let's talk about the fact it's okay not to drink, and that's a real change that's come through our society as well. It is absolutely fine to go somewhere and not to drink alcohol, and that's a very, very important message. But I think education and talking to young people early is incredibly important.
Well, I reckon it's got through, and I think our generation, my generation, has had such big nights over the years, and was part of that whole culture that now we've sort of gone cold turkey. We can pass on those stories to our kids and say, hey, look, this is the result of that. Nothing good happens after midnight. That just doesn't happen, and you can make all sorts of life-changing decisions and consequences come as a result of a big night. You can get in a fight and you can hit someone and they die, and then you're in real trouble. You can jump in a car and then kill a mate. So I think it's got through, but boy, it's been an expensive way for it to get through and a costly way for some families. But I think the message, and sometimes we have to be brutal, has finally got through, and our kids are now conservative in many ways.
Yes, and that's what we're finding, and that's what's a very, very good thing. And I think too, the other cultural change that's happened now as a result, if you like, of, I think, reaching out to young people to talk to them honestly about, the issues, if you like. We're also seeing a cultural change now that's coming through the 18 to 24-year-olds as well. Like in the last year, their drinking has dropped by 7.1 percentage points. That's hazardous drinking. Now, they're down to 23.8% hazardous drinking, still far too high, but a good drop in a year.
Yeah,
significant
that's a huge
changes.
drop, yeah. And so where's that come from? What's happened there?
Oh, I think that goes back again to getting to talk to students, educating them much earlier when they're at high school. 12 and 13-year-olds is when we start with theatrical performance in the schools, and I think that's really important. We've got to talk to people or young people at that age, and then it slowly comes through. But I think the other thing that's going on is, as a society, this comes from families and this comes from communities as well. This is a change generally in society, and it's not a regulatory change either. I think that's an important thing. This is something we've done ourselves as a community. We don't need to be told what to do all the time. We actually are able at different times to actually make change ourselves, and I think that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, and we can make changes also by learning from our mistakes, you see. And
absolutely,
you don't learn from victories, but you do learn from mistakes. And I look
and support from families. I think
correct.
That's really important.
I know. It used to be embarrassing if you went out and didn't have a drink with people. People, hey, what's wrong with you, mate? And nowadays I have a lemon lime and bitters, and no one.
No.
The only people that would pass comment on it actually are baby boomer plus people who will say, what's wrong? And nothing's wrong. Okay, everyone to themselves, they'll sort of come around. But they'll be still asking me why I'm not having a drink, that generation. I find that a little bit strange at times.
I think the quality too of no and low alcohol drinks is just superb.
Yeah.
A lot of R&D has gone into those products. And I think that's helped as well, that you can actually go out and have a really nice drink, enjoy that ambience of being out with your friends, because that's actually a really important thing to do.
I was in a wholesalers the other night. I haven't been in one for a long time, and I was in one because we had a catch-up from a team that had been away for a sports team, and the parents had a quick catch-up around a meeting. And so we all bought something, and I went into the wholesalers. I couldn't believe the options. I mean, with COVID and everything, I've sort of been a bit of a homebody. But I went in there, and all these boxes of all this, the different RTDs, whatever they all are, and everything. The companies have had to move with the times and do something different, haven't they? It's not just beer and wine and hard spirits, is it?
It's really, really good. And again, just to talk about our low-risk alcohol guidelines as well. For women, it's 10 standard drinks a week, no more than 2 on a day, and have 2 days off a week at least. And for men, it's 15 standard drinks in a week, and again, 2 days off and no more than 3 in a day. And I think those guidelines, if you like, are really important. And I think people are actually looking, they're grabbing a can of whatever they're drinking and they're having a look and saying, how many standard drinks are in here? And I think sometimes we get surprised. We think,
yes.
It's so important to know what you are drinking and then just to monitor it through the night, have plenty of water, put food in there as well, and look after our friends.
I look at guys like Paddy Gower, who's transformed from drinking far too much. He openly admits this in his book to not drinking at all now. The workplaces can be stressful places. Jobs, and I did that job before Paddy, and I had a drinking issue too. And you can jobs can get on top of you, and sometimes booze is the outlet, especially in places like Parliament. What's your advice there?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. But well, hence why we're actually come out and launch these different, you know, this is the research, if you like, that I originally put out the media release on. This Work Foundation research from Lancaster University, which is just saying, right, businesses need to, we know now from this particular survey that businesses don't actually have many policies on alcohol.
No.
Only about 80% don't actually have a policy. And what we've done, along with the International Alliance for Responsible Drinking that we do belong to, is we've put these resources out there. And we've put them up on our website. You can go in there and just go to latest news from NZABC, and you can actually link to get these free resources.
Yeah.
So I think things like that are helpful in workplaces as well.
Is it smarter for workplaces not to have Friday drinks? You know, I mean, the Friday drinks, are they gone, are they?
I think there's a lot less of Friday drinks, but I guess the big message here is if you are going to have drinks, have plenty of low and no alcohol products there. There's tons out there. And, you know, people are busy in their lives. They've got all sorts of other things on. They want to be going home and be good for the kids. They want to drive. They might be pregnant. And please don't drink if you're pregnant.
Good.
And so all of those things I think we understand now as a society. And a workplace, if they are going to put some drinks on, it is their responsibility to be putting on these different drinks and different variety of drinks for their staff.
I see also you don't have to even call them Friday drinks. You can call it Friday social or Friday, Friday social time or whatever. I mean, name it what you like, but we've always called it Friday drinks. So, I must drink. It doesn't have to be drinks,
Yeah, that's right. I suppose working from home is sort of changed that a little bit as well. But the other thing about, socializing and getting together, you don't have to drink. You can have a no alcohol product, and yet still that ambience with your fellow workmates is so important. Or just with, we all know that because of COVID.
Great to catch up. Always appreciate your time, and all the best.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Virginia.
Cheers.
Ta-da.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, thanks, Virginia. Now, I see there's a bit of debate on TikTok, and thanks for watching, thanks for commenting, and there's some good numbers on there. You're asking, was that pre-recorded? I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but yes, both interviews I did before the show tonight, just to break down some of the logistics for you. So I did that just before the show. So you were debating this on TikTok, and you got it right. Lots of feedback coming in. Frosty says Duncan, Paddy Gower, Guy Espen, and several other famous people have quit drinking. It's phenomenal. Magneto says people forget alcohol is toxic and we are micro-poisoning our bodies for funsies. Look at the link between booze and cancer. And now I'll tell you a couple of stories. When we played rugby, first 15, we got into, we had a really massive night, our first 15, at some party in Glenfield. We called it the Glenfield party. We got hauled in on the Monday by the headmaster and the first 15 coach, and we all got sat down. One by one, sat down. And they went round, they asked each of us how much we drank on Saturday night. And some guys lied. Other guys told the truth. They came to me, I said dozen, which is about right. And it came to our hooker, whose name was Hardman, and he said 18, sir. And we couldn't believe 18 cans. And you're sort of 16. And then it came to our prop. He went on to be a police officer. His nickname ended up being Puss because of his answer, which he said 1, sir. And so he was nicknamed Puss for that reason. 1, sir. And everyone sort of booed and, get real, stop lying, and throwing stuff at him in the room. But these were the days. We had court sessions. We one father in the first team bought us a keg for 4 of us, and after school on a Friday, we went and shared that keg with 4 of us, 12.5 litres each. I'm not proud of this. I'm just telling the truth. It's what we did. Do I regret my teenage drinking? Too late for that. Had some really good times. Regret? What would I have done otherwise? Been left out. I don't know. Hey, there's a bit of feedback on TikTok.
Yes, there is indeed.
Yep. This is Isaac. Isaac's in the control room running the show.
Hello, team.
The man.
Hello, team. What else? Yeah, definitely plenty of people wondering whether or not your interview is live or not.
Really?
Which is funny. Some people saying that drinking at home is good, is a better way to stay safe. I hope that they're referring to like drinking at home with other people. If you're drinking at home by yourself, that's probably a little bit of an issue.
Yes, could be an issue.
Well, not probably. It is a bit of an issue, and if you are doing that, I would
Depends how much you're
recommend-
having, though. Yeah, a couple of beers, possibly,
yeah. But I mean, for me personally, I prefer drinking in those social situations where I can, go to my stay at my place or go to a mate's flat, and there's like 10 of us there, and we have a couple drinks, and we chat. We have the music at our own volume.
You chat.
We're not at a club with the music absolutely blasting. We can't hear anything. We don't know what is actually in our drinks. Blah blah blah. Significantly safer doing it at home.
I'm looking forward to the invite. Would you invite an old man like me?
Oh, I would 100% invite an old man like you.
Yeah. Hey, what about the? I had a home brew kit. I was bought a home brew kit at 16. Is that irresponsible? And Dad and I would have a race to see who could make the most powerful home brew, and I was 16.
No, well, I mean, if your parents bought it for you, that's not against the law as long as it was being used responsibly.
We played drinking games with them. With that game where you can't show your teeth when you drink. So, broccoli, tomato, you can't show your teeth.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a bit irresponsible. But that was Mum, though.
Yeah.
And the price of alcohol. There used to be dollar beers. The Exchange Hotel in Parnell had dollar beers, and you'll go there with $20 from the North Shore. You get a taxi, 10 beers, taxi home. There's $20. $20 night out. Imagine that now.
Yeah, no chance. That's why I prefer drinking at home with mates, because you can, you buy a box for $25 to $30 nowadays, which is a bit steep, but oh well. And then that's it for the night.
Did those adults around me at the time with all that booze? Did they fail me? That's the question. Did they fail me, or was it just the era?
I think it's definitely a perspective thing. It definitely depends how they treated you and how they acted around you and that kind of stuff, and what they showed you. I think that it would be different for lots of different people.
What I've done, I very rarely drink now. I'm not a non-drinker. I just don't drink. I don't really enjoy it anymore. Around my son, who's 14, he doesn't see me drinking. He doesn't see that old me.
Yeah.
I don't want to show him that this is acceptable.
Yep.
I'm a 90s child, says Laura, and. Where did that go? Where's Laura gone? Just moves on me. It always moves on me. I'm a 90s child, and I was drinking in my very early teens. My son's just about to turn 16 and has absolutely no interest in drinking at all, and neither do his mates. That's so true. Do you find that? I mean, you're closer to those guys than I am. They're younger than you. They're way younger than me, but they seem conservative.
Yeah, I think so. I think, again, very different for different people. I know there are a lot of young people around New Zealand who do, and that to me is quite sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I agree. I think there's definitely a significant decline in that kind of stuff. At least for the more traditional drinks, like you wouldn't see someone, especially people younger than me, wanting to have a beer. They'd want to have a lovely sweet RTD with artificial colouring.
They are nice though.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't drink beer. I'd rather drink long whites or whatever. My father would punish me by giving me a toothbrush and making me clean his car with a toothbrush and his mag wheels and his Commodore with a toothbrush. Hey?
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, I mean, and then he suddenly took me down the road at 200 k's an hour. I mean, did they fail me? No, I'm still alive. And one more thing here. Oh yeah, the increase in drug taking must have some impact as well. Most people I know would prefer cannabis, or if they want a big night out, mushrooms, MDMA, or LSD.
Yep.
That's another show, isn't it?
Yeah. 100%.
Should I do a show on something?
I think you should. Oh, well, hang on. No.
I've done that.
Really?
Yeah, I smoked synthetic cannabis and did a show. Radio Life, yeah.
Wow. Cheeky boy.
Off my bloody planet. Okay, let's move.
Duncan Garner, live. It's the Slam Dunk.
It is now 6,500 jobs. Now listen to this. I've got a scoop for you. 6,500 jobs have gone in the public service, and Wellington's hurting. We know that. More than that, it's on its knees actually, and more pain is coming. This is an exclusive. I'm sorry, but I'm doing my job with this exclusive. I'm the bearer of some bad news, but I'm the messenger. But I have this first, and you need to know this, and Wellington certainly does. But I spoke to David Seymour about an hour ago, and he tells me that the way things are tracking with the budget for next year, about $4 to $5 billion in savings will still have to be made in next year's budget, which will be in May. That means thousands more Wellington jobs, or jobs in the public sector, are set to go between now and the middle of next year, between now and about May. That is what he's just told me, and the Christmas Grinch is coming for further jobs. So the 6,500 jobs already gone. I did say, is it another 6.5? He said, no, not that much, but somewhere maybe in the middle. So it might get to 10,000. He wouldn't put a number on it because he knew I'd go, whee, bang, straight and tell you what the numbers is. But it's still to be thousands more jobs. Wellington will not welcome this news. But I need to tell you first, Seymour is adamant it has to be done, and he is determined to make sure it is done. Public servants aren't safe. If you thought the job was done, it's not. And he becomes the Deputy Prime Minister in May, around the time of that budget. Seymour has just said he believes this has to happen. I also believe a really big employer in Timaru tomorrow morning, will announce 500 jobs are gone as well in Timaru, so watch this space. The rough and tumble of the New Zealand economy is not over yet, so stand by for more change. Seymour wants more jobs gone in the public service, and so far he's proven he can get his way. I mean, in many ways, he's running the show, isn't he? He's the one making all the controversial policy. Stand by, Wellington. Seymour's not finished yet. He's coming for you. Seymour believes there is still room to cut and still room to go. Not another 6,000 jobs, but still in the thousands of jobs. So prepare for this to get messy in the months ahead, and later in the year, and also, of course, early next year. So stand very by.
Duncan Garner, live.
Right, one more thing. Can you build a hospital for $1.88 billion? What do you reckon? If I gave you $1.88 billion, could you go off and build, say, Dunedin Hospital?
Ooh, $1 billion is a lot of money.
1.88,
but...
it's almost $2 billion. It's more than the Waterview Tunnel.
Yeah, true.
So for $1.88 billion, that was what they set aside for a new Dunedin Hospital. Guess what? The costings have come back at $3 billion for a Dunedin Hospital, making it the most expensive hospital in the Southern Hemisphere.
Wow.
We're being screwed.
Better be good then.
We're being screwed. Someone's taking the mickey, aren't they? I know building... they're going to have to reduce floors, reduce size, reduce all sorts of things, because this government will not allow that. It won't just write out a cheque for $3 billion. The last one might have, but not this one. That is us, folks. Thanks for all your feedback. Great feedback today, too, on TikTok and YouTube right the way through it. I really, really appreciate it. Keep it coming in. Thank you so much for tuning in to Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief Live. Of course, we're brought to you by Lester's Oil. We've partnered up with them, the premium New Zealand-made fish oil supplement backed by a study. Support joint, heart and brain health. Use the code Duncan for 10% off. It's abouthealth.co.nz. Take as directed. Read the label. About Health Auckland. It's better for you than booze, you know? 0800 999 309. If you call that number right now, you'll get 10% off. Just mention my name, 10% off. Mention my name twice. It's still 10% off. You don't get double. That's us. This will be available as a podcast very, very shortly on Rover. And wherever you get your podcasts, you may get them somewhere else, so it'll be there too. Thanks for your feedback and your support. I'm Duncan at rover.nz to my team. Now, people have asked me, have I sacked everyone? There's no one left. Am I? Have they walked away from me? I mean, basically, we're so competent we can do it ourselves.
Yeah,
that's fair?
Just the way it's going.
Sounds a bit arrogant, but it's about... Yeah, I'm working 26 hours a day, putting it out, and
Wow.
you're doing 24.
Yeah, pretty much. 25 some days.
And I'm still in Celebrity Treasure Island. Did you see my scrum last night?
No, I didn't. I need to go watch it.
You promised me you'll see it?
No, I promise.
Because why don't you call me try to take me out and he couldn't?
Nice. That must feel good.
Oh, I was with Cully. Keep pinching myself. Right, to my team, thank you so much, Isaac, you're the man. We'll do it again tomorrow. Remember, life is no dress rehearsal. I can also thank William McAllister as well. He's helped us get this to air as well. Thank you, sir. This is it. We live in one of the best places on earth, so get out and enjoy it. Life is no dress rehearsal. There's no curtain raiser. You're in it. Have a great day. If you're drinking, take it easy. Take care, New Zealand.
That was Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief Live. Missed something on the live stream? Text Duncan to 3598 to listen back on the podcast. Want to get in touch? Call 0800 863 293.